Nurse Mercy Mary, whenever I have sex, I usually have bleeding after sex. What is the cause? Am I normal? What is happening? Can you please make a video on bleeding after sex? Good day everyone, and welcome back to Nurses Lecture Room YouTube channel. My name is Mercy Mary, popularly known as a nurse with the difference. And as usual, I make learning easy and accessible for all my viewers. Today, I'm going to be talking about the causes of bleeding after sex and what you should do. The causes of what? The causes of bleeding after sex. So if you are a lady and you are experiencing frequent bleeding after sex, this video is for you. If you are a nursing student and you don't have idea of what causes bleeding after sex, this video is for you. If you are a man and also you have a wife or you have a partner that after having sex, she's always complaining of bleeding, she's always having blood, this video is for you. But before we go into details in today's class, like I will always say, please like this video. Please, it will help to increase the visibility for others to see. And also, please subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out of our interesting video. Alright, welcome back. Like I earlier said, today I'm going to be sharing with you the causes of bleeding after sex. Bleeding after sex is also known as post-coital bleeding. It is known as, what did I say? Post-coital bleeding. So there are a lot of causes or a lot of things that can result in bleeding after sex. So the first one I have to share with you is PID, which is pelvic inflammatory disease or sexually transmitted infection. PID or sexually transmitted infection can result in bleeding after sex. So pelvic inflammatory disease is as a result of recurrent infection. PID is as a result of current infection. So if you are having PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, or sexually transmitted infection, there's a possibility you are likely going to bleed after sex. So it's advisable at this moment you see the doctor so they know if it's a bacterial infection, a fungal infection, it will be treated as soon as possible. That's the first one. Then the second thing that can cause vaginal bleeding, bleeding generally after sex, is vaginal dryness. Vaginal dryness. There are a lot of things that are responsible for the vaginal to be dry. The first is ovary damage. When a woman's ovary is damaged or a woman has a surgery done and the ovary is removed, it can cause vaginal dryness. And you know, when the vaginal is dry, sex is no longer enjoyable. Sex is no longer fun. Sex is no longer the way it used to be. So vaginal dryness can cause what? Can cause bleeding after sex, which is post-coital bleeding. And I said that the first cause of that vaginal dryness is what? Is damage to the ovary or removal. Another cause of vaginal dryness is childbirth and breastfeeding. Childbirth and breastfeeding. So when a woman is breastfeeding, when a woman has given birth, that can lead to vaginal dryness and that can make sex less pleasurable. Then the third cause of vaginal dryness is medications. There are some medications that we take that interfere with estrogen levels, and that can make the vagina dry. So some medications interfere with an individual estrogen level. That can cause what? Vaginal dryness. Then another thing is chemicals or irritants into the vagina. Like I will always advise, don't put soap, don't put chemicals into the vagina, because these irritants, these chemicals can make the vagina dry, and that can lead to what? Post-coital bleeding. Then another is douching. For those that douch, it can also lead to what? Vaginal dryness, and that vaginal dryness can lead to what? bleeding after sex. The last cause of vaginal dryness I have to share with you is engaging in sex when before arousal, when the woman is not even wet, forcefully penetration, that can lead to what? Vaginal dryness. So all these causes I just listed can cause vaginal dryness, and vaginal dryness can lead to what? Bleeding after sex. I don't know if you get a point now. So the first one I said was what? Infection. Then the second one I said was vaginal dryness, and I listed the various causes of what? Vaginal dryness. Then the third point I have to share with you is damage to the vagina. When there's damage to the vaginal, it can be as a result of tear during childbirth. It can also be as a result of forceful penetration. When you as a lady, you are not wet, you are not properly aroused before the sex, that can lead to bleeding after sex. So that's the third point. Then the fourth point I have to share with you that I documented here is cervical or endometrial polyps. Cervical or endometrial polyps. These are benign or non-cancerous growths in the womb or the lining of the cervix. They are what? They are benign or non-cancerous growth. They are abnormal growths. They are not supposed to be there. It's not cancer. You get? They are benign or abnormal growths that are around the cervix. When there's an abnormal growth around the cervix, there's an abnormal growth around the lining of the womb, that can result in bleeding after sex. And that is advisable, you see, the doctor, so they can verify what is happening. Then the fifth cause I have to share with you is cervical ectropion. Cervical ectropion, also known as cervical erosion, where there's inflamed area on the surface of the cervix. Cervical ectropion, also known as cervical erosion. There's inflammation, you can call it inflammation around some areas of the cervix. This can lead to vaginal bleeding when sex takes place and something happens, there's bleeding after sex. Then the sixth point I have to share with you in regards to the causes of bleeding after sex, which is actually my last point, yes, is endometriosis. For those that have watched our video, I think I throw more light on what endometriosis is. Endometriosis is when tissues of the uterus start developing in other places. Tissues of the uterus start developing in other places outside the uterus. So endometriosis can be a cause of what? Can be a cause of bleeding after sex. So in this condition, you might ask me, Miss Mary, I'm having bleeding after sex. You've listed the causes. What do I do? The first thing I'll have to ask you is that, looking at your body system, do you think it's vaginal dryness that is causing it? If it is as a result of breastfeeding, as a result of childbearing, as a result of ovary damage, what we have to be talking about is how to make the vagina wet. So penetration can be easy at that particular moment. So if that is the cause, you have to see a doctor. Generally, if you know you're having bleeding after sex, it's advisable you see a doctor. Proper tests are carried out to ensure that everything comes back to normal. But if you used to put those irritant chemicals in your vagina, you used to douch your vagina, this is time for you to stop, to avoid those unnecessary bleeding after sex. And also, if you engage in sexual intercourse without proper arousal, I think a more of a romance scenario has to take place to increase your sexual urge, to also make the whole place wet, slimy, and slippery for easy penetration. Because when the vagina of a lady is not wet, is not slippery, penetration becomes painful, and if care is not taken, there could be what? Bleeding after sex. So these are the 6 causes of bleeding after sex. Like I will always tell you, this is an educational video to give you an insight of what is happening in your body and what ought to do. This is not a prescription. This is not a doctor's prescription. This is not a nurse's prescription. So if you're having these are the causes. You can go to the doctor for definite diagnosis, so you know what is happening and they provide appropriate solution. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Thank you very much for watching this video to the very end. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to share with a friend if you got value. For all my returning subscribers, this is Miss Mary saying thank you. Bye, and see you in our next video tomorrow.